You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? Oh my God, it's the coolest thing ever. It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere nationwide. I've never found a more perfect Valentine's gift. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. Seriously. So, if you're looking for a Valentine's Day gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. Welcome to the Chris Spangle Show. My name is Chris Spangle, and I'm excited to have the conversation today. My guest and I probably are on the opposite sides of several things, but we're both libertarians and we both love liberty. And get along and have a conversation, and that's the way that the world is supposed to work, but that's not seemingly how it's supposed to work on social media, as you'll hear. And I have to apologize to Dan Smotz. I've been saying Smotz for roughly 5 years now. He's the host of the System Is Down podcast, TSIDPOD.com. So think like
TSIDpod.com.
Right. Thank you. I apologize for mispronouncing your name for the entirety of our friendship.
As long as you're saying my name, that's really all that I care about. Like, you can call me whatever you want. As long as you're talking about me, that's fine.
That's okay. So why don't you tell people a little bit about your podcast? What do you do over there on The System Is Down?
Sure. Yeah. We've had our podcast going for, I think, about 4 years now. And basically the whole premise of the show is just having conversations with people about uncomfortable topics, talking primarily to people that we disagree with on things and exploring the world, why people believe the way they do, why they come to certain conclusions. Because I believe, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm right about this, but I believe that the person that you're arguing with on the internet is not like your enemy. I think they're just a different set of variables that grew up in a different set of variables and came to different conclusions than you. So seeking truth together, and we explore controversial topics like conspiracies, politics, religion, and as I put it, all the things your family prays you don't bring up around the Thanksgiving dinner table, and in just an effort to find truth and figure out what is and why people believe the way they do, and unite around our commonalities despite our differences.
So you hear right away that those of you who listen to this program, we approach things exactly the same. We may come to totally different conclusions. You just said something really interesting that I've been struggling with a lot in the last year, really, which is I tend to think the same way. Like, people grow up in different situations. You need to understand where they come from. You have those conversations. But the person on the other side of the screen is probably a reasonable people that is loved by friends and family, is a decent person. But it's getting harder and harder to hold on to that. I mean, I've always considered myself fairly close to anarchism, but like, it's been shaken a little bit lately. And then you watch what happened at the Capitol, which we can agree or disagree on that later in the program. But like, you watch the rioting of both sides over the summer and people's just knee-jerk violent tendencies, and you go, am I arguing with decent people? I mean, how did you come to that conclusion?
Yeah, this entire year has been this crazy roller coaster of ups and downs where I feel like a lot of people, and I'm willing to admit if I am wrong on something, if I'm definitively proven wrong, that I have no problem with that. But there are some people, and it seems to be growing in numbers, who are either completely stupid or they're lying. And I'm having a hard time figuring out which is which, because if you show somebody evidence of something over and over again, and I'm not even talking about any particular topic, but with all these controversial topics that have been going on throughout the summer and up to now, it's been like just having a conversation about something is enough to trigger people into these flame wars, and they make assumptions about you and everything like that. It's like, I have a hard time believing that you are even trying to understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. Like, why am I spending my time trying to have a conversation with somebody who insists on misrepresenting and misunderstanding me? That's where it kind of, the theory that these are all just decent human beings kind of breaks down. It's like, are you trying to figure me out like I'm trying to do with you? Are you trying to have a civil dialogue, or are you just lying to yourself so that you can, I don't know, get social points online?
It feels, I know, I don't even know if it's online. I mean, it's in my life too. I mean, it's getting harder and harder to disagree with people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are you experiencing when you're having those? Because like you'd argue with people online, let's say 2 years ago, and then you'd meet them and they were great people. Like I literally have a friend who my audience knows went to a bar last night to beat someone up because the guy called his mom fat on Facebook, and he said, "Meet me at this bar. I'm going to fight you." They both show up. They ended up having drinks, and the person that one of the friends that showed up as backup was a guest that we had on the program recently. So the two of my friends were on opposite sides on the internet, showing up to beat each other up. But then when they got there, they had friends. Like that happened all the time. But now
that should show you what social media is doing. Everybody's this big talking douchebag online, and then they get together and they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember you. You're pretty cool. Let's you want a drink? We'll beat each other up after this." And then it never happens.
Yeah. So what do you think it is? What is it about social media that is causing this level of discord between people?
I think there's definitely, and you can call it a conspiracy theory if you want, but I think it goes without saying at this point that there is a divide and conquer tactic that is going on within the media. Like everything has to be, and it might, I mean, you can say it's a conspiracy theory, whatever. You can say it's, it's just what numbers are, and they're just doing it for clicks. But the extreme polarization of the media, the extreme polarization of politics in general, every single topic that has come up has been used to divide us. And it's because because of social media, there's zero nuance in the world, in my opinion. Like you can't be anti-Trump and not be a Biden supporter. You can't be anti-Biden and not be a Trump supporter. And as you and I would both agree, you certainly can. But sure. I don't know. Like there's also the, presenting your most polished self that I've been warning against for like 2 years at least, where these kids are getting online. They're seeing all their friends posting only the best, most perfectly edited version of their life. And we're looking around, seeing everybody else have this super happy, glowy, fun time. And deep inside, we realize, or we know deep down, that we're not the thing that we're posting online. We're actually, many of us, sad, depressed human beings because we're seeing everybody else only show their best as well. And it's just this dishonest mask that everybody's wearing that social media encourages. And it's toxic and it's addictive.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I don't know. I never like to assign nefarious motives. Like when I'm thinking about like the building of Facebook and the building of all that, I never try to assign nefarious motives when stupidity or greed will do. But at this point, it seems very obvious to all of us that we're all like a cocaine addicted monkeys pressing this rectangle of misery all day long. I mean, I just find myself at certain points in my day going, why am I so sad and pushing this button when I could be reading a book or having a conversation with my girlfriend? Like, what am I doing? And I struggle so hard to live out my values because of this little rectangle. Mark Blythe is this economist who said, he's Scottish, and he's like, it's like everybody's at a blow party, and when you're addicted to blow, you get violent and angry. And it's like everybody's at this blow party that ran out 2 hours ago, and now they're turning on each other. And it was a great analogy because it's addicting. And so at this point, what do we do with that? Because do I just, my business, like your businesses, are online. Yeah. As a broadcaster, these are incredible tools. They've given you and I both a voice. Yeah. So what do we do with it now that we know what it is and how awful it is for our society?
Yeah. Well, I'm had the rug pulled out from under me, and it's kind of opened my eyes to prioritize what actually my purpose is, what actually I'm trying to do. Am I just trying to get clicks and likes and followers, or am I trying to actually push the message that I, profess on my show? And if I'm trying to do that, then why am I wasting my time building somebody else's platform? I tirade to basically try and push for people to just buck the whole system and start. I'm not saying like you have to start your own website or something, but figure out different means, figure out what you're on the social media for. If it's just to communicate with people, even if it's just a shit post, there's better ways of doing it than going back into the cesspool. And just pushing more, prioritizing and independence, just figuring out the best ways to own everything that you do and make sure that, somebody can't pull the rug out from under you and, flatten your business within a 24-hour span.
Because that's what happened to you, right?
Yes. Yeah. And, it's early to tell. I don't want it to be like, oh, we're financially destitute, but it's certainly going to, in the long run, affect our businesses and our ability to make a living. Because for me, I lost not just my personal account, but the podcast account. I lost all my business accounts, which I had like 15 to 20 business pages and music pages, different projects and things that were all, the life of an entrepreneur. Spread it out there, and a little bit trickles in here and a little bit trickles in there. Some of those probably won't even come back in any capacity. But for my wife, more so, she got wiped out as well. She was just an admin on the page. She didn't do things that were like overtly controversial or anything like that, like the podcast. She was involved in the podcast a little bit, so she was an admin, but she did very little on it. She did nothing controversial on her own stuff, but her personal page got taken down and her business page as well. And she needs a Facebook account to do her daily job. Like she works at a school doing PR and communications, and she has to have a Facebook account to be able to, follow that stuff. And hers got taken down, and it wouldn't even let her sign up for a new one. For me, I had an old one that I dug back up. So I don't even know if it would let me create a new one at this point. But she ended up having to, find her sister's old Facebook account, log back into that, and just not add anybody. Like that's the value of Facebook now, is you have to kick and scream and beg to communicate, basically.
Did it cause her any problems at work? Did that embarrassing conversation of I've been banned from Facebook?
She couldn't get it took her about a week to come up with an alternative. We tried different VPNs. We tried using different browsers and stuff like that for her to sign up, and none of it would work. I don't know why. I'm not a technological guy. If somebody's got a clue, I don't know what caused it, but yeah, it wasn't letting her back in at all for about a week. And so even her school was like trying to help her out, trying to figure out a way around it. So
see, that's amazing that they because I thought about that. Like I was like, oh, when I talk to Dan, I want to mention like VPNs, maybe that'll work, and that didn't work either. Wow. Yep. Yeah, we've seen this with the Liberty Memes guys. For years they've had to have multiple different weird accounts, and they're raising $1 million in charity, and they can't use Facebook to really function. Yeah,
and it's also like the contacts and stuff. Like I don't even know what I'm missing now. I don't even know what I lost because I wasn't writing everything down or backing things up like I should have. And admittedly, I put too many eggs in one basket, obviously. That was a vulnerable basket. But I always thought, if they do something, if they took down just the System Is Down page, I would have been like, well, okay, what do you do? Like we did talk about some controversial topics, but these are controversial topics that we've been talking about for years without issue. And then all of a sudden it's gone. But it wasn't just that. It was like, I primarily film weddings for a living, and I now film like political videos and stuff like I did for Joe Jorgensen's campaign, Vermin Supreme's campaign, Spike Cohen, and all that. But yeah, it's like I've had people hit me up over the years, and I don't even remember their names. I can't just go back and like dig them back up because I don't have that information anymore.
We're talking to Dan Smotz, who is the host of the System Is Down podcast. Well, how can people help you? If you've got other means like an email newsletter or a website, like let's give a list of things that people can, if you're listening, go listen to the System Is Down, subscribe to it. What are some other ways that people can get in touch with you and just kind of help you build some of this stuff back up?
Sure. The primary thing right now for the podcast, at least, is I'm working on a small social media site of my own where, like-minded individuals, by like-minded, I just mean open-minded and civil individuals can come and hang out. We're putting that up, and we've got a newsletter that we just put up, a day too late. But I created that day after the banning, and they can find that at tsidpod.com. That's where I'm going to be putting out links to different, edgy, controversial news topics and stuff like that. Going to be putting out all the announcements for the website that's coming up for the social media, and find the video side of things, the video work that I do at goulashfilms.com. That's GOULASH films.com, or the graphic design and audio stuff that I do at goulashmedia.net.
And you did our Ma Rhodes t-shirt, which is our best-selling t-shirt. You're a great graphic designer. I know you work with the Lions of Liberty guys. So if you're looking for a graphic designer, then hit Dan up at Goulash Media. Goulashmedia.com?
.net for
.net.
Goulash Media.
Okay. And I'll put all the links in the show notes so people don't have to remember that stuff.
Sure.
So let's get into what you were posting. I think when it comes down to let's talk about conspiracies. I don't think that I think we maybe had talked about it when I was on your show. I'm pretty much on the opposite side of a lot of this stuff than you, which is not, I don't care. Sure. I know that you're an intelligent person who has reasons why you come up with the conclusions that you do. What kind of stuff were you posting that got you banned, first of all? Like what was the edgy stuff? Do you know what actually got you taken down?
I wish I could tell you exactly, but they did not give me any warning, any notice. They didn't send me any follow-up email or any chance to appeal. No explanation, nothing. I can certainly guess what it was. And how much do you want me to speak in code on this? I don't.
Oh, just be flat out honest. Our audience are
like the
big
name
boys and
of
girls.
the topic. The name of the topic is what got me kicked. Is why I ask.
What, Q stuff?
The 17th. Yes.
Yeah. I know. Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't care. No,
just making sure.
No,
but,
the only thing I don't want done here is screaming the N-word. But if you want,
then I'll keep that to a minimum.
Here's the thing, okay? Let's say let's say you believe in QAnon and all that kind of stuff. Our audience wants to understand why you think that way. It's. What I really like with the Trump stuff, for instance, with the person who's running into the Capitol, I want to understand why they made that choice, because I don't think somebody who runs into the Capitol, is they're acting rationally from their point of view. So I want to understand how do we get to that point? Why do you think that? Whatever radical thing that you may think my audience might think is nuts, they can handle it.
Yeah. I'm not concerned about what they think. I was just more concerned about.
No, you have carte blanche. Carte blanche.
Perfect. Well, then, yeah, it's Q enough. And this may come as a surprise, but I don't believe it. And that's some of the craziest shit about this is that I've been I've been on the fence about the idea the entire time, because for those that don't know, and it's striking to me how many people I run into who don't even know anything about this theory or what it is. It's been called, white supremacist, blah, blah, blah. Not from my experience. Sure, there might be some of those in it, I guess. I don't know. I haven't seen them. Whatever. But the theory is this crazy, outlandish idea that Donald Trump got elected and now he's trying to do everything that he said he was going to do. That's pretty much the extent of the theory, is that Donald Trump's trying to drain the swamp, and Donald Trump's leaking out information to help people be reassured that he's going to drain the swamp and lock them up and blah, blah, blah. That's pretty much all it is, which I don't think is that crazy or outlandish of a theory. I don't necessarily believe it, because I don't think, even as a conspiracy guy, I don't think that the election process is controlled by us necessarily anyway. I think the whole thing's probably rigged, and Donald Trump's just there to divide us more. But that's a different conspiracy theory altogether.
Yeah, you look at the Q stuff. I don't know if you saw the video of Alex Jones screaming about "you QAnon people are driving me crazy."
Yes.
Some of this stuff has just gotten to a point, and maybe for those who don't understand QAnon, and I try to post stuff like, okay, here's what people think. Here's why people think the Q stuff or what, right? And so I posted this video of the MAGA preview, which would look like an ISIS recruiting video for the 20th. And it got taken down by YouTube. And I appealed to the decision, and I said, I'm doing this as news. Like, I'm trying to explain to people so they have greater
and when
empathy.
you posted that, I commented on it and said, that seems like a good theory. Sure, it'd be a shame if somebody banned you for it.
Right.
And then the next day it's gone. I was like,
that's the crazy thing about all of this is that what I tried to do is to say, here's what people think. Yes, it's crazy. There's some people who react to it and make it fun of it and mock it. But the majority of my audience goes, all right, I want to know for greater empathy what that person thinks, because I want to understand what are they doing? Like, why would, I mean, you and I know the types of people that are talking about armed insurrection. Like, we understand their psychology intimately because we've been in this group for 10 years or more. You know, in my case, I don't know about you, but like I understand why people go, the last option is violence, and other people I think need to understand that too for various reasons. And social media is no longer allowing us to report on that, which is the stupid part.
Right. Exactly. It's the same as like the Elliot/Ellen Page debacle. It's like, if we can't say her old name, then what even is the conversation? Right. Somebody that you don't know transition to be somebody that you don't know. Okay, whatever. It's like, if we can't actually just say what is or explore different things, then our limit to like, our limits on what we can and can't report are it's impossible to even report on the news at this point. And with the Q stuff, I had a show on my channel, still kind of technically do, he just hasn't done anything in a while. The guy who I had on the show to interview is a really good friend of mine who believes this stuff wholeheartedly. And I'm like, okay, cool. He's not like a radical extremist or anything. When the whole Q thing began, it was, to me, I looked at it as, another fun conspiracy theory to dig into. And it's current and relevant. And it's like, you know, it's like national treasure. And I don't have time to dig into it, but I would love to have somebody who's, you know, autistic enough to do the digging themselves, dig into it, and then they can tell me what they found. And if they convince me, great. If not, whatever, we can agree to disagree. And he never convinced me. And, but we had that show called QAnon Chronicles on our podcast for about a year. And that was all leading up to this. Like, never got a strike on a single one of his episodes. He wasn't controversial or anything outside of talking about a crazy conspiracy theory, but never got in trouble for anything he posted that was directly focused on that. But then I had him, he was gone for about a month. I had him on the show on the 5th. So the day before all this went down, I wanted to have him on right, like leading up to that, just to be like, hey, can we get a follow-up on this? Do you still buy it? Do you still move the goalposts so Donald Trump is going to be our savior? He's like, yes. And whatever. So we had a nice, lovely conversation. But, you know, if we disagree with, like, if I agree with Facebook says QAnon is stupid. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of agree. Now let's talk about it. And they're like, nope, you're gone. Everything, 10 years that you've poured into our platform, we're going to wipe it out because you had a conversation with a guy that you know about a topic that CNN can get away with talking about, but you can't.
Yeah, like I know I'm eventually will be gone too, and I, on the libertarian world, am probably closer to, you know, I read the New York Times and think that most of the time they're trying to tell the truth. Sure. So there's no chance that I'm sticking around, because when you talk to people about this stuff and try to understand them, they don't want that. They want politics off of their platform completely, which, you know, I mean, how many millions of dollars has Donald Trump given to Facebook? Yep. And that didn't matter at all. And the problem, and maybe you can elaborate on this, the problem when you censor stuff, like if your goal is to get rid of the Alex Jones mindset, looking back in hindsight after 2 years of him being gone off of all these platforms in a day, is the Alex Jones mindset more or less prevalent after removing him from these platforms? In my mind, it's way more prevalent, and it backfired on the people who wanted to censor him to make themselves feel comfortable.
Yes, this is just how you make radicals, and you make people who are further steeped in their ideas, whether they're good ideas or bad ideas, doesn't matter. If you tell somebody you cannot look into this, you cannot think about this, you cannot talk about this, what are they going to do? They're just going to go look into it more. Like, it's barely affected Alex Jones. Of course, I didn't have Alex Jones-sized platform or Alex Jones-sized insanity, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there.
Alex-sized Jones drinking problem? What about that?
Yes, I do not have Alex Jones-sized alcoholism either, or spousal abuse. Kelsey Jones has been on my podcast, or Kelly Jones, his ex-wife.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So come check that out. But anyway, not to slander. These are all jokes, guys.
Allegedly.
Anyway. Allegedly, yes. What were we talking about?
No, that censorship prohibition, that these impulses to control backfire on the people who try to control.
Yeah, it's like the drug war. How well has that worked to keep us from having drugs? Just makes drugs more dangerous. Or you could even liken it to, I don't know. I kind of feel like going back to conspiracy land here a little bit, but this whole, I said that I thought, all the elections were kind of planned. Like, if you wanted to divide a country, what better way than to have smooth, suave, subtly destroying brown people, Barack Obama in there for 8 years, and then bring in big, brash, dumb Donald Trump. It's almost like in every single presidency, we've got a boogeyman that we're fighting, and they're always overseas to try and get us into wars, to try and convince us, hey, we got to go over there and spend our money and all our focus and effort and energy on taking out the boogeyman. This time, he was just at home, and it's working really well to get us into a war right now, and it's creating radicalized people who have bad ideas, and we're just pushing them off into the dark corners of the internet where they fester and, dwell on their bad ideas and assume, like, it's kind of like Waco, you tell them that they get whatever they got to stop doing what they're doing, or you're going to come and wipe them out. They've been predicting that you were going to wipe them out the whole time. So you're just furthering their paranoia and confirming everything that they believed by, attacking them with the ATF.
Yeah. And you push them into silos, these digital silos, or some people like Glenn Beck call it a digital ghetto, which causes all kinds of outrage. But it is true. Once you put these people into digital silos, the people that you need to worry about on the 20th are not the people that you see on Facebook. Like, people need to be very clear about who they're mad at. Like, it's not your uncle who's spouting QAnon nonsense. Yeah, there's some problems with him and enablement and some of that stuff. But, like, the reality is the person that's dangerous is not on Facebook anymore. They were banned 5-10 years ago. They've been on encrypted services for 10 years in a channel of like 5 other people, and they've just been radicalizing and going to extremes, and they're not being checked. Like, that's the thing. Like, being checked by other people going, you're kind of out of the bounds of reality, and then people pushing back and go, well, here's my reality. Here's why I think this. That conversation brings people to an agreement that tempers the extremism, and everything that the digital censors are doing is just radicalizing people even more in greater numbers and puts us in even more danger.
Absolutely. And it's, they can't, if they're kicked off these platforms like I was, and if you can't get back in like my wife was, if my wife was this crazy right-wing extremist, she's not, I promise. Like, she can't even get back on the platform to find out how she's wrong. She can't even look at other people saying how she's wrong. Like, she has nothing but her confirmation bias and everything that she's going to get from, I don't know, I'm using my wife as an example. Let's say Alex Jones, even like, he can't even come back in and go, hey, that's, that doesn't make sense about the Q thing. Like, we're pushing them out of the information even, because we're talking about not just some little, social media platform. We're talking about the largest communication means that this world has ever seen. Like, this doesn't even compare to phones at this point as much as we use it. So I think that people should be allowed to be stupid, and I think they should be allowed to be stupid in public so that they can be informed on how they're stupid. I think that's the only way they find out.
All right, so let me counter back.
Sure.
It is their property. We believe in property rights. It is their house. I don't want you plotting a violent insurrection in my home. I mean, so what?
Not again. We tried that one.
I know, right? So where are the bounds between free speech and property rights? I mean, do you want child porn on Facebook? Like, don't they have a right to censor things? I mean, where's the line for you? How does that work in your world?
Well, I'm not a legal expert, but I also try to not be a hypocrite. And I'm not calling for like, hey, we need more government intervention to tell them what they can and can't do. I think that we need less government intervention coming in and protecting them when there is, this stuff that's like if they're going to take a stand on this is what we believe and this is all that you're allowed to believe, then you're not a platform. Like this is less about. Like I would say it's less akin to the cake baking than it is to book burning. Like we're talking about these small handful of people that run the entire flow of information saying you're not allowed to think this way anymore. If you think this way, you will be demonized, you will be punished, and you will be taken out of all communication means.
Yeah. I mean, so part of me goes back and forth on that because like, but the media, but the left, there's people in our movement that run around saying they're going to line you up against the wall and shoot you. Like there is a paranoia about a lot of this stuff that kind of leads people down a radical path that when you talk to like your average Democrat, they don't want to kill people, like sure. they want different outcomes.
Every Democrat I've ever met has been a murderer.
Right.
Just don't know yet.
Right. Like it sort of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Like if a lot of these people like went and worked on a campaign and got to know other Democrats, like I've met Mike Pence a bunch of times. I think Mike Pence couldn't be more wrong about sure. most things, but like the guy is not an evil person, right? He has a set of reasons why he thinks what he does, and he's an opportunist, right? So, but he's like, so where's that line between because I'm struggling with this. So I'm asking more for myself. Like when you look back at the end result of the disconnection between these two cultures where we're not reading the same things. You and I probably read two different sets of information, and then we end up at different conclusions as a result. And it's hard. If I send you an article, I know because of the way that you are, you're going to go, okay, I'll entertain this idea and process it. But when you send somebody like, let's say the Business Insider, and they go, Business Insider, you just go, well, I don't know what to do with you because, like, I want you to see what I'm seeing. Like, how do we reconcile that? Like, I feel like that we've kind of enabled some of this sloppy anti-intellectualism that has caused some of this in the libertarian movement, and I don't know how to get to a place where it's like you're anti-state because am I making any sense? Like, I don't know if you've had any of these thoughts or where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes back to the social media thing. Like, you have to be able to have face-to-face human interactions. Like, we've gotten so dehumanized because of social media where it's just, 140 characters and you've got your pretty picture and that's who you are and that defines you. Not the like subcontext of your argument or anything like that, or your history or anything, any evidence, doesn't matter. You're just immediately, you are one thing. And even at the beginning of my podcast in talking about these uncomfortable topics, I always, whenever I could, I insisted on doing face-to-face conversations. And I'm a pretty introverted guy actually, but I was like, if I'm going to be doing this, I have to know their body language. I have to see their eyes. I have to know like how they're feeling. Otherwise the whole thing collapses. If I misinterpret, the way they're speaking or something like that. Like, the art of conversation is so incredibly dead today. Like, if you're not doing like what we're doing right now, if you're just going on Twitter and that's your human interaction, then you're not even interacting with humans. And we're all just, it's like we're hacking into this crappy, shitty matrix. And the person on the other end is also hacking into that. And in there, the world looks really ugly. So we just fight and bicker about it instead of like looking out our window and seeing that everything's pretty much fine. How much has Donald Trump actually affected your life in the last 4 years?
Dude,
personally?
I've never had a better year than last year. Like everything's on fire if you go on the rectangle of doom, but like my personal life has never been better. How damaging do you think the lockdowns and just the pandemic have been to social interaction, and how hard will it be for us to climb out of the hole after, now that we're starting to, I think once we get to the summertime, people are going to go out more. time is up. People are done with it. It doesn't matter what the consequences are. People are ready to go to concerts and live life again. And I just think that part of the civil unrest that we've had, you cannot lock people down. You cannot have the economic consequences of this and not have civil unrest. Like I said, it March 21st, and I didn't predict George Floyd, but I did predict people storming state capitals. Like, I mean, how damaging do you think the pandemic and the lockdowns have been to this for this social interaction?
Extremely. And if you catch me on a conspiracy brain day, I'd say it's not an accident. Like, you lock everybody down for, just 2 weeks to flatten the curve, then 2 months, and then what I don't know, 2 years? Is that when we'll be done with this? I suspect, once Biden's in there, they'll be like, we don't need to worry about that much anymore. Even Cuomo's kind of like rolling back his lockdown talk and his scare tactics and Lightfoot.
I literally thought it was a libertarian podcaster that tweeted out, we cannot lock down forever. And I was like, oh, it's John Odermatt again. And then I looked at it, was like, oh no, it's Andrew Cuomo.
Where do you get off, man? You've made a living off this shit for the last year, and you're gonna act like you're the arbiter of, hey, the lockdowns are evil now. Again, are you that stupid or are you lying? Because I suspect that it's the latter of the two.
Yeah.
And the lockdowns have been extremely damaging because, the stuff that we're talking about with just limiting your ability to communicate to online, we're pretty much only doing that now. Like we're stressed and depressed and everything because we're losing our jobs, we're losing our businesses and all that shit. And then the only outlet that we have is the rage on the internet. Like I was gone from Facebook for like a day, and I come back after the 6th, and I don't like even the people that I was friends with before. It seems like everybody was suddenly angrier, and it was almost like it was a completely different platform. Like everybody's an expert on what's happening in the world, and nobody wants to actually have a conversation about it. But the lockdowns just built this powder keg that exploded and is just, I don't know, throwing shit all over the place.
I don't think it can be overstated the amount of I cannot wait. Like, listen, I don't think you should take Trump off, but I'm not going to defend him. Like, he's gotten so many warnings. Like, he's a big boy. He knew what he was doing.
Sure.
I mean, life is going to be better without him on these platforms. But I think,
it though? It was entertaining. What are we really losing? We're losing mostly entertainment.
Dan, I cannot wait to never say the man's name again. I'm so ready to move on and talk about, I've been planning out the next couple months of shows and talking about policy and fundamental principles. I'm so excited to get back to regular life. But, I think, let me ask this. How do you move forward now that you're kind of off of it, now that you're kind of, how do you market your business? Have you thought about that, or are you going, I'll adapt, I'll figure it out?
A little of column A and a little of column B. Again, it's a little early to even know what's going to happen. I'm kind of just over the last 24 hours, even I've kind of been having a mental shift where I'm seeing more of the silver linings, even more so. I'm kind of a look on the bright side of things. I know it's weird for a conspiracy guy to say that, but I don't push fear and stuff like that. I push, hey, explore and find truth, but don't live your life in fear of anything. But yeah, with this happening, it was it was definitely an eye opener, and I had mixed emotions about it at the beginning. It was like, I'm angry, I'm sad. I literally lost 10 years of work that I poured into a platform that did not care about me. I'm sad about that, but at the same time, there's a silver lining of a fresh start and, having the kick in my ass to actually do a bunch of things that I had been saying I was going to do for the last few years, and actually having the motivation to do it now that I've lost my main stream of, information flow. So we're, like I said, we're setting up our own social media. We're setting up we have a newsletter that we're sending out to make sure that we can keep in direct contact with our listeners and with our friends, really. We all disagree on things, everybody in our group, but we've always been extremely civil, and I think they're all awesome people, and I want to be able to keep in touch with them and continue doing what we do, which is changing the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time.
Well, I think you've heard why I like Dan Smotz. host of the System Is Down podcast, and why I have been a patron of his at patreon.com/thesystamisdown, why I'm going to rejoin, and I would ask everybody to go and support him in this moment and join his Patreon and help him build something great outside of these social media doom and gloom environments. And let's all watch what he's building with great interest and help support him and build something brand new. I mean, Dan, I wish you the best, and I want to have you back because my heart has been hardened towards people who would call themselves conspiracy theorists. I know that's a pejorative, but...
Mine too.
Right. Like, I have to be honest. I feel like they made the last year harder, and a lot of it felt like self-serving nonsense instead of open and honest questioning. Yeah. And it's easy just to go, I don't want to listen to you anymore because you're not being rational. Like, and there's also the float, right? Like, you know, it's easy to go, all right, I'm looking at the title of the latest System Is Down, and he must be in QAnon, and he's pro-Trump, and like, you know, that nuance gets lost. So I want to have you back.
People look at the fact that I got banned. Like, I've had people, they're just going to assume, hey, he's a dangerous alt-right dude, obviously, because he got banned. It's like, no, actually, no, you just go listen. You'll find out.
Yeah, so I encourage people to go check it out, and I'm going to have you back on and try to explain some of this stuff, because I want to understand why you see something different than I see, even though we come from the very same place. So with that, I say thank you. Thank you for being here, Dan.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
And thank you for listening to We Are Libertarians. I'm going to do it for like the next 10 years. I've been doing it for the previous 10. It's never going to go away. Well, thank you for listening to the Chris Spangle Show, and we'll see you tomorrow.